So I got the engine out of an '02 Mustang GT in the wrecking yard, and if you missed that video, that one was pretty cool. You should go watch it. It was very eventful. But anyway, I did get home. This is the night I brought that engine home, and my brother came over to help me, and I basically backed the truck into the garage. I put down some plastic sheeting. I moved the Cobra around, obviously, so I could get the engine into the garage here. Got the engine hoist down out of the truck by myself before my brother got there. And this is what I did with the other engines I've had. There have been several 4.6s I've had in this area of my garage. So I'll just take the engine hoist and then I'll lift the engine out. I have to take the flex plate off the back so that I can put it on an engine stand. And then we put the engine on an engine stand, lifted it up, and then put the stand on the mount, and then lowered the engine down onto the ground where we could roll it around and stuff. And so my brother did come over to help me with that, so that was very nice of him to do that. And that's a really cool work light he's wearing. He got me one of those too. I can't say enough about how nice that is. You can make basically daylight out of any situation, so that's pretty cool. So this is just us lowering the engine down, making sure that we're being safe, and that there's two of us there to help do this. And then disconnect it and roll it into the garage. And so I just had to reorganize some stuff so I could fit it in there, and just kind of told them how I did it before. So we're basically just organizing where we want to put it in the garage and trying to roll it through here without scratching up the floor. And like I said, I put down that plastic sheeting to make sure that it didn't make a mess, because I'm going to be rotating the engine over and turning it upside down and probably changing the oil pan gasket and stuff like that. But just wanted to do that, and it's kind of an eventful thing to do. Got this drip pan underneath here. You can see the starter hanging down there. There are a lot of things on this engine that I'm glad I got, like the alternator, the starter, the intake manifold. Obviously, I really wanted a 4.6 from a Mustang that had the exhaust manifolds and the fuel rails. I did already get fuel rails and another intake manifold from another GT. I was just trying to get all the parts because I never was sure what I was going to need until I got this. So just wrestling this over here to the back side of the garage, and then I wanted to clean it up, and I knew that I'd probably be moving it around and cleaning it, and I was deciding if I wanted to clean it in the garage or take it outside and clean it. But at this point, I just wanted to get it inside. It was raining a lot here. We're in the desert and it hardly rains, but for the last several months, it's been raining every week. So I just wanted to get this engine inside and out of the elements, make sure that it was safe. And it turned out really good to do that. So I had a few things I wanted to do with the engine first. I wanted to pull a spark plug. I wanted to drain the oil, what was left of the oil. The wrecking yards are supposed to drain all of the oil. I did take off the oil filter in the wrecking yard and make sure the oil looked good. And it looked nice. It wasn't the cleanest looking oil, but it wasn't contaminated with coolant or anything. You can see this drain plug has kind of giving me a little bit of trouble. It's just a little bit stripped from all the oil changes the car's had. And so I have a whole nother Mustang oil pan. I have like 4 of them actually. So I'm going to use one of those that has a better drain plug on it and just eliminate this whole issue. I mean, it went off and on okay, but it definitely wasn't the best. And so here comes the oil, and it looks pretty good. It looked like normal engine oil. I've taken drain plugs out like my other silver GT, and man, it was just pure water for like a minute, and then the yucky coolant contaminated water from a blown head gasket. So that's just what I was really wanting to make sure, is that oil came out of the oil pan, and it looked pretty good. So I was happy about that, and I kind of knew it was okay because I saw the oil filter in the wrecking yard and the coolant in the wrecking yard as well. And so I did want to check a spark plug at the wrecking yard, but I was on such a time crunch that once I saw the oil, I thought it would be okay. And buying a used 4.6, you never know if you're going to have stripped out spark plugs. You know, the 4-thread heads are known for that, but I went ahead and pulled one of these spark plugs, and on that blown head gasket GT I had, it looked like a cocoon around the ground strap of the spark plug. So I just wanted to make sure that these plugs looked good, make sure that they didn't have anything like that going on, and they looked good. Here's a little close-up of the plug. This is what you would expect to see out of a normal running car. It looks pretty good. So happy with that. Looks like a nice one. So I just wanted to do that first, and then start cleaning up the engine and removing things like the wiring harness. And so the EGR, I took some of these components off. Unfortunately, the EGR metal tube got broken up when I was taking it out of the engine. It got bent and cut open, but that's okay. I have another complete one for our GT. So just putting some WD-40 on some parts here, the exhaust manifold, the EGR tube exhaust section here, and then just kind of whacking it off with an adjustable wrench. And so this is going to be changed. It's too bad that this one got damaged. I feel bad about the things that did get damaged, but it was really a difficult time getting this out of the wrecking yard on time. So there were a couple casualties like that, but that's okay. I have backups, like I said. So the top EGR pieces, obviously, if I need this top hat part, I can use it, but I have the complete set on the other one. So there's a gasket here. You don't want to lose the gasket to the EGR. And I'll run the bolts back through that gasket once I remove this complete tube. So I just wanted to strip down the things that I needed to take down and leave everything else on there. I might try installing this engine with the intake manifold still on the car. I could do that if I drop the K-member and put the engine on the K-member and lift it up through the bottom and have the car elevated. But I might try a different method. See, there's where it's broken, where the tubing's cut open. That's really too bad. But I might be able to try to swing this engine in a different way, but I don't want to hurt the intake manifold or crack it with the chains for the engine hoist. So I wanted to vacuum a bunch of stuff out here, just clean it all up. There's some debris on top of the intake manifold, and I do have a straw that I like to put in there and use just a big red fast food straw, and I'll suck little tiny crevices out in the spark plug holes, just hard to reach areas. But I just wanted to clean this all up the best I could before I started degreasing it. So that's what I was doing with the shop vac, and it worked out very nicely. It looked clean, looked good. So here's the harness of the engine coming off. Unfortunately, I had to cut this harness, and I really wish I would have just driven the one bolt out. I had to cut it on the main section there. I didn't know what else was missing on this harness from the wrecking yard, but I think it was quite complete besides the main part, and I still feel guilty, and I regret that a lot, and I just have to tell myself not to worry. Now, I did find these paint markings that say NED 778, I think, and it was on the rear main seal, the timing cover, and the valve covers. So I believe at some point this car has been gone through, especially since I did find a picture of the car when it went to the wrecking yard. And so this is a picture of the gauge cluster of the convertible that the engine came out of, and it does say that it had 208,000 miles on it. So higher mileage, but this could be a replacement engine, or it could be an engine that's had some work done to it. It could be completely rebuilt. I'm not sure. and the engine might not even be good. But I think coming out of a running car when it was wrecked, I think it's a pretty good probability it'll be okay. But with all those marks on all the timing cover, rear main seal cover, valve cover, I'm pretty sure that the car has probably had some maintenance done, possibly some timing chain tensioners and guides. I really hope so. But probably, if not that, new seals and everything. And with 208,000 miles, it's very unlikely that the 4.6 didn't have timing chain and tensioner issues that had been addressed. So I'm pretty confident that it's going to be okay. So even though I had that plastic laid down in the garage, I thought it'd be a lot easier to go ahead and just clean this engine up outside. And I moved the Cobra out of the way and rolled the engine out. And I was going to clean it over here in the rocks, but I decided to go ahead and move it again over towards the grass, just where it wouldn't make a mess on the cement. But you can see the engine looks pretty decent. I mean, this is what you would expect. I've seen a lot dirtier engines, and even the one I cleaned up on my 60,000 mile GT, the silver one, it's still starting to look kind of dirty like this again, even after a good cleaning. So I just had a few different types of degreasers that I wanted to use on it and just kind of clean everything up. I just really wanted to have a nice clean engine to work with and put back in the car. And it didn't have to be absolutely perfect, but from what I noticed, it looks like the valve covers are not leaking. They might have a little bit of seepage on some parts, but the bottom side was actually very clean, so I was very happy about that. And everything looked really good. The timing cover looked good. The rear main seal looked good. The oil pan did look a little moist, and I want to change out the oil pan like I had said anyway for a better one that I have, so I'll just take that off, and I have a gasket for that. So I just took some other degreasers and a toothbrush and cleaned this all up, and I was very careful not to get too much down in there, because the problem is some people will power wash an engine like this and then it fills up the spark plug holes, and it's really difficult to get it out. So look how clean it is now. I just want to do this by hand and get most of it off without power washing the engine. So it looks good. I'm very happy with it. So that's the update for now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the rest of this project and more Mustang content.